Okay, now you've got your SD card in, the battery's charged in, you're ready to go, you got the basics nailed. Now you need to actually just get up and going. The first thing you should know before we get into the menus is that with a 360 camera, you're gonna want a selfie stick. If you just try to take a picture with it in your hand, you're gonna get this big hand in your photo. So you're gonna want a selfie stick. The good news is that Insta360 makes one that extends out fairly far, and it's a decent little one, a little bit picky when it's in the cold, but all in all, it's a pretty decent selfie stick. And the good news is it goes in very easily into that 1/4 inch. You just screw it in, and without getting too far into it, because of the way things are stitched and the way the lenses are, the selfie stick actually disappears and it looks like you've got a floating camera in 360. So you're definitely gonna wanna hook yourself up with the selfie stick. We've got that going. Now let's bust into the menus, which are awfully interesting. When you first power up, what's gonna happen is you're gonna go straight into camera mode, photo mode, which I would say it should start with video mode. There is a way to start with video mode that we'll get into later, but we're in photo mode for now. And as you can see, I've got it set for interval shooting. I set it for a 3-second interval. That way I can hit, take the picture, get my selfie stick out there, and I've got time to get the picture without it going click, 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 and ending up with a lot of photos that look really stupid. Okay, so we're into the menu now, and in order to get around, let's just call this the shutter button, we'll call this the function button. So we're in photo, there's video, there's settings. All in all, fairly simple. The problem is there's no back button in any of this, and in order to actually edit what you're gonna be in, you have to be in settings. So let's just say, oh, I'm in video, and I wanna edit my video settings. That's not gonna work. I have to go to settings, so I have to go back out to settings, hit enter on the shutter, and now I'm finally into the menu. If I keep hitting the shutter, it will cycle the different menus, like that's video. There is our Wi-Fi settings. There is the about, and now we're back. Now again, there's no back button, so if you're gonna go scroll down to something, and then you select it, if you wanna try to get out, you've got to scroll all the way down to the bottom to done in order to start all over again. Now I'm in settings mode again, and so I've got to scroll back through. Let's first go through the photo mode. If you're gonna go anywhere with this, you use the function button to go down. See how I'm in interval right now. If I want to edit that, I'll hit the shutter, and that will give me all the different types that I want. Do I want to do a 3-second, 5-second, 10-second? 1 minute. 18 megapixel pictures. All in all, with the HDR and especially, it looks pretty good, but that's about it for the photos. Let's go on to the video. Okay, now I'm back in settings mode. I'm gonna hit the shutter button in order to get into the ones I want, but again, I'm back into photo mode, so I gotta hit shutter again. Now I'm in video. Right now I'm in standard mode. If I wanna change it, I hit on the shutter button. That gives me bullet mode, which is actually pretty fun. Time lapse is also a great selection. You can adjust the intervals as you can see here. 1 second, 5 second, there's multiple seconds you can use there. You can set ISO auto or you can manually do it. For me, I'm out and about in the outside, so I just kind of stay with it on auto unless I really need it. Same thing with the shutter. It helps a lot if you want to get some great majestic stuff and it's maybe low light and that kind of things, but for now, I mean, it works pretty good just setting it at fast. Log, now that's an interesting thing. For a video producer like me, we love log. That gives us more color dynamic range to deal from, but I haven't found the log on this to be worth the time. The stuff looks great out of the camera. It's not a professional camera, so might as well just keep log off and we're gonna hit done. Okay, let's explore the rest of the menu. Now the different modes, we're gonna show you some footage of that a little bit later, but I wanna get you into the really cool modes that are here, and these are the different ways you can record. Right now I've got it in 3K 100 frames per second. Not the highest resolution in the world, but it looks dynamite. It's very smooth slow motion. Now here's your 5.7K 30 frames per second. It looks pretty darn good. Now remember 5.7K sounds really big, but it's in 360, so it's distributed all the way around. The next mode we have is 4K 30 frames per second. Again, not bad. I don't have a lot of use for it because I'd rather just do the 5.7K, but hey, why not? Next is the 4K 50 frames per second. This is a pretty nice little feature. The degradation of the image isn't so bad, and that 50 frames per second gives you a little edge of slow-mo that's actually very cool to deal with. And now we're back to the 3K 100 frames per second. So when you use the video modes, they're all pretty darn good and the footage is very solid. It's really why you should buy this camera. We've looked at photos, we've looked at video. Now we're gonna go into the Wi-Fi. So as you can see, we can turn the Wi-Fi on, off. If you want, it'll give you the Wi-Fi password. That's gonna eventually come into play when you wanna hook it up to your phone. And the Wi-Fi channel. So all in all, Wi-Fi is pretty straightforward. Occasionally when you're hooking your Wi-Fi up to your camera, you're gonna have to cycle your Bluetooth on and off, which is a little bit annoying, but they're starting to get that fixed. Next settings, we're gonna go deeper in. We're gonna go past all these modes again. Remember, there is no back button. We have to scroll through all these to the about. Oh wow, there's my serial number. That's always good to know. The quick cap, now that's the thing I have turned on and I do love it. What that ends up doing is, as soon as you hit the power button, it will automatically turn on video. So within a couple of seconds. So rather than having to default into photo mode and then switch to video mode, which can take a few seconds, you have quick cap on and suddenly you can just fire right up into video. I highly recommend using that. Here we've got the LED on. Of course, you're gonna want that. It's kind of a pain in the ass if you don't. And the beep, of course, hello. The one time you may not want to use a beep is, when you're in like a meeting or something like that, and you don't want people to freak out. And the format, well, that's where you format the card and you'll erase all the data. So don't hit this unless you're very prepared to do it. But if you don't do it regularly, your card will get maxed out and eventually the thing will freak out and overheat and all that fun stuff. Here's where you can basically go back to your original settings, and also here's where you do your gyro calibration. None of that have I had to do yet, but it's something where if your camera starts acting wacky, you might want to give both of those a shot. Now we're back to done. Now that kind of wraps us up for the bulk of the menu. One thing I want to mention to everybody is that the cell phone requirements for this, I have an iPhone 6 and I would have sworn it said that the app worked for iPhone 6, and it kind of does, but it's actually the iPhone 6S or above. So if you're going to use an iPhone for the app, you're going to want to get an iPhone 6 or better. I've not heard good things about the Android connection on a smartphone. I don't have one, obviously, but you might want to watch out. I have not been hearing good things about the connection. The app is pretty good. You can take photos and make something out of them, like, well, you get your little, where's our little tiny, you can fisheye, that's a 16:9. Ooh, tiny planets, and you can do all kinds of editing things. A lot of these I'm not going to get into because I don't really use the app other than as a remote, but thought we'd at least give you the idea that the app does do some decent jobs, keeps all your stuff in order and organized, so not half bad. Ah, isn't that lovely? That's me, live. See? I'm moving my hand. Woo, woo. So you got the app installed, you're using it as your remote, you've got your selfie stick, you're all set, and you know all the menus, you've gotten over all the headaches. Where do we go next?